Huvo, welcome back to the channel. My name is David. Today we're going to be going over some concert photography tips I wish I knew over 2 years ago when I first started doing concerts, but now they're part of my regular checklist when going out to shoot a show. Now don't worry, these tips are very straightforward. It's more about doing your part in due diligence and being aware of certain things like house rules, lighting conditions, and so on at a venue before you get there. Because trust me, a little research goes a long way to making your life a lot easier when you're shooting a show. That said, quick disclaimer, Nikon did not sponsor this video in any way, shape, or form. Everything shown here I purchased with my own hard-earned money, and yes, my wallet is in therapy again because I bought stuff. Hey, I got a nice tax return, so might as well spend it, right? Anyways, that said, let's go ahead and get started with the video. This might sound so simple, but it makes a huge difference. Knowing the size of the venue helps you choose the right camera gear. If you're shooting at a big venue and only bring a 50mm lens, you might find yourself too far from the action. In that case, a zoom lens like a 70-200 would have been the better choice. And depending on the venue, sometimes you're not able to move around during the show and you have to stay at a specific location, and not having the right lens is gonna make your life a lot more difficult. So always make sure to find out what the venue size is, that way you pack the according equipment and save yourself a ton of stress. Moving on to the next tip. This goes hand in hand with knowing the venue size. Try to find out what rules the venue has for photographers. Are you allowed to move around, or will you be restricted to a specific area? Can you use flash, or is it strictly off limits? And if you can't use flash, what is the stage lighting like? Is it bright and colorful, or dark and moody? Even if the rules feel strict or frustrating, always respect them. Think of it like having a guest over at your house. You wouldn't want someone to come into your space and ignore your rules. The same idea applies here. Moving on to the next tip. Having liability insurance is just as essential as having the right camera gear. In the last 6 months alone, I've had several venues ask for proof of liability insurance before allowing me to shoot. No insurance, no access. Why does this matter? Imagine you're shooting at a venue that also functions as a restaurant. Let's say you're moving around to get your shots and accidentally bump into a server who was carrying hot food. If someone gets burned, or even if you say damage venue property, you could be held responsible. And without insurance, any legal or medical costs could come straight out of your own pocket. That can seriously hurt you financially, especially if you're starting out. A quick Google search for photographer liability insurance in your state is a good place to start. Look for something that is tailored to creative professionals or event work. Trust me, this is one of the best investments you can make in your photography career. So the best way I can show you guys what it's like to build a kit specifically for a venue is by showing you what I'm taking tonight for my gig. So the venue I'm gonna be shooting at, I've shot there before plenty of times, but before I go over the lenses, I'm gonna go over the cameras. So I always take 2 cameras. My main body is the Nikon Z8. Absolutely love this thing for concert photography, 45 megapixels. It's more than enough. It actually surprisingly has good low light performance as well. And I mainly use this with a long lens because then I could crop in camera and get a little bit longer reach if I need it. My secondary body is the Nikon ZF. This is a very fun and versatile camera to use because not only is it got that retro aesthetic, but it's got the same processor as the Z8, so the autofocus is very similar. It's 24 megapixels, so not as high resolution, but in low light settings, it's perfect. Not the best when you're using a big lens, but I have a grip on here that does have a a thumb rest, so it does help. But yeah, that's my 2 camera setup. I always take 2 cameras because one camera might break or something happens, you wanna have a backup. So for my first lens, it's the Nikon 85mm f1.8. This thing is my telephoto lens for this particular venue. The venue I'm at tonight is actually very small. I've photographed there a bunch of times, so I kind of know the ins and outs. 85mm is all I need. But the reason I'm taking primes tonight as opposed to zooms is because it's very darkly lit, like candlelight only essentially, and I can't use flash. So I have to shoot available light, and what better way than with fast primes. The secondary prime is my wide angle. It's a 35mm 1.8S. Awesome freaking lens. Again, because I'm shooting in extreme low light, fast aperture glass is the way to go. This is most likely gonna live on the ZF, while the 85 is gonna go on the Z8. Now, one other thing I always make sure to pack is a pair of good earplugs. I like these. I bought these on Amazon. They were like not that expensive. It was like, I think $5 for like a dozen of these. But basically you wanna have earplugs available because sometimes it does get really noisy, or you end up by the speaker, or it's just super loud in there, and you wanna preserve your hearing. Because once you lose your hearing, it does not come back. So always make sure to have a pair of earplugs. And then lastly, even though I said that this venue does not allow flash, I'm going to be taking my flash with me, because if I'm outside of the venue or in the green room and if I need a little bit more light, I am free to use flash. I just can't do it during the show because it is a restaurant type setting and I don't want to disturb the guests. So that's pretty much my kit for tonight's event. And that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, double tap the dislike button twice. Trust me, it works. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and follow me on Instagram at DLoVisuals to stay up to date with my latest adventures. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.